human cloning. Now, for those of you who don't think cloning is real, in this video we're going to be breaking down how not only is cloning very real, I'm going to take you step by step through the process of how it's done. Now, before we get into cloning and who's been cloned and how a clone works and how they're being used to cause confusion in the world and also murder people through the MK Ultra program, which I'll be breaking down in this video, we have to understand how cloning is done. Now, in order to clone somebody, you have to have the female counterpart of that species. And you have to have the female counterpart of that species not only genetically, but the blood type must match as well. It must be compatible. Why? Because if not, you will not have a clone. You will not be able to duplicate the individual, aka regenerate the exact genetic material that you want. Because, for example, if you take a black person and you take their DNA, and you take a white woman and you take her egg and you fertilize the egg with the DNA, it becomes a mulatto. It's not a clone. So you have to understand, when you're cloning someone, they have to have the exact blood type and the exact female species genetic, the same genetic marker basically, and a female version of the person that they're cloning. So let's get into cloning. Now, when you want to clone somebody, what they do is they take a glass pipe, which is the size of a single strand of hair. Now, why do they use a glass pipe? Because the same reason you should drink your water out of glass, or the same reason you store beverages in glass. Because glass can be made out of natural elements and will not taint the genetic material or alter the specimen in any way. Just like they say you shouldn't drink out of plastic because the chemicals run into the plastic and they taint it. When you clone somebody, you use glass because it doesn't, unlike plastic, glass is natural and it won't taint whatever it's being contained in. And they use a glass pipe the size of a strand of hair because it's thin enough to penetrate bacteria and germs, DNA out of the genes, and to carry it to the fertilizing cell from the female species, where it's fused in a process called electric shock, which I'll be going into next. Now, electric shock is also used in genetic splicing, which if you attended or you seen my you attended my lecture titled Genetic Reincarnation, I broke down genetic splicing. But to go into genetic splicing briefly so that you have understanding of cloning, genetic splicing is when they use an enzyme to extract a certain sequence of your DNA and separate it from the rest of your DNA. Then they do the same process with another species, and then they fuse them together in a process called electric shock. With this, how they created the liger. So you take two pieces of DNA and you weld them together using heat. Now, why is this important? Because heat is how you weld anything physical together. Just like when they create cars, they have the blowtorch. They're welding the metal. Some of us, when we break stuff around the house, we take a lighter and we weld it back. When you want to weld genetic material or biological material, aka cells, you have to use electricity. Electricity is hotter than fire. The sun is not a big ball of fire, it's a big ball of electricity. So you need something that's hot enough and quick enough to activate the cells, because remember, cells run off electricity. Your body runs off, your nervous system runs off electricity, electrical current. So what happens is they extract the genetic material, aka a person's DNA, from the blood, from the genetic marker that they got it from the cell that they got it from the person that they want to clone, whether it be male or female, and they go find the exact female of that person, of that race, whatever you want to call it, white, black, Spanish, Russian, whatever you think you are. They go find the female version of whoever they think you are, match your blood type. And once they have a person that has your blood type, they extract the cell, the egg, from the female of that person, taking the glass pipe with your genetic material, insert it into the cell, and then shock it in a process called electric shock. What this shocking does is it actually burns, welds, fuses, whatever word you want to use. It fuses the foreign DNA to this egg. Unnatural fertilizing process, because this is not sex. It's an unnatural fertilization process. They use electric shock to fuse your genetic material into this egg. But also the electricity activates the egg. and the egg begins to grow into an embryo, and the embryo becomes a fetus just like as if it was pregnant. And this eventually becomes the identical to the person that they're cloning. Why? Because by this not being sexual, no exchange of genes were given between the mother and the father. No excess genes, no genetic material was able to be traded to give the child its own characteristics. Only thing that this gene has to go off is all it had, which is a specific sequence of DNA. So that's why when they clone you, you come out looking exactly like yourself instead of a tad bit different. Because kids don't look exactly like their parents. They just look a lot like their parents, but not exactly. Because they have their own genetic material as well. But when you take someone's DNA and you don't allow the mother and the father to both give DNA to the child, then the only thing that will grow in that egg is exactly what was put in it. So, getting back on point. Now, when they used to clone people back in the day, they would have to wait until the clone lived an entire life expectancy. Which means, if you're 40 and I clone you, I gotta wait till you die and literally wait 40 years for this clone to become the exact age that you were. And not only that, they didn't have the technology to educate the clone. So they would have to literally re-speak to the clone and re-educate it verbatim. Now, they got technology like in the Dulce underground cloning base in Mexico, which is the actual base of where they clone people. It's spelled DULCE cloning facility in Mexico. Look it up. Now they got technology where they have what you call test tube babies, where now they don't even need the woman to put the egg back into the woman for her body to generate it and for it to come out the womb. Now they got a tube where they actually not only can fake nurture you inside as if you have a mother, so basically you have technology that can be your artificial mommy. Not just that, they can accelerate the growth process of the cells. This is called cellular acceleration, the cellular acceleration process. They can actually speed up how fast your cells grow and make you 40 years old again in a week. Because your cells have memory. Remember, when they took the cells out of your body, your cells remembered actually aging for 40 years. So all they're doing is reawakening the memory of that cell in an accelerated rate, and the cell begins to grow into its 40-year-old self again because it already did it once, so it remembered how to do it. So they are genetically manipulating material that they extract from the DNA. So now, once the cell gets 40 years old, now this cell looks exactly like the person that it was just extracted from. So what happens was, this is where MK Ultra comes in. They have a program called Mind Uploading. Go look it up. Mind Uploading. Mind, M-I-N-D, Mind Uploading. What they do is they hook all these neurological transmitting wires to your mind. And they actually hook them at certain quadrants of the brain, because we know that different parts of the brain control different parts of the body. And what they do is they actually go inside your conscious and your subconscious mind, and they download every thought, every piece of memory that you've ever had since you came out the womb, all the way up into the time they cloned you, and they store it on a holographic computer. The same way you can store your voice on music, the same way you can store, I'm recording myself with this camera, is the same way they store your motherfucking mind. And what they do is they go with the clone, they hook the clone up to this mind downloading machine, and they actually download the thoughts into the mind of this clone. So not only are you 40 years old again, now the clone doesn't even know it's a clone, because the last thing that was on his mind before they cloned him, or him or her, is exactly back on his mind again. So if they kill you, kidnap you, whatever they do with you, once they clone you, you won't even know you clone, because if you was thinking about I want a bag of chips, that's all still on your mind when they clone you. To you, you don't know that you was just cloned. So, I mean, the clone doesn't know it's just cloned. So what happens is, as I broke down, you have 4 nervous systems. You don't just have one. You have the cranial nervous system, which is your face, your head, everything in your cranium. This part of your nervous system, family, controls your eyes, your nose, your lips, your tongue, your jaw, anything neck above. Cranial nervous system, cranial. Then you have the peripheral system. This controls anything that is to your peripheral, like your arms, your shoulders, your legs, all of that, all of those type of ligaments in the body. Then you have the autonomic nervous system. This controls all the organs in the body or anything in the body that happens automatically without you consciously having to give it command, such as your lungs, your heart, your liver, your bladder, etc. All three of these nervous systems are controlled by the central nervous system, which is the spine, the brainstem, and the brain. And all of those are controlled by the pineal gland. So why is this important? Because the pineal gland is basically the headquarters of the nervous system, which controls all the other three nervous systems of the body. So if you want to take over somebody's body, what organ do you go for? The pineal gland. What they do is they insert a microchip on your pineal gland and they emit thought signals and imagery to you, which influences you. So watching TV is actually MK Ultra at a miniature level. And this is how they're able to brainwash the masses, because television, telling your vision, telling you what to vision, television. Just like telepathy. Telepathy is thought transmission from one mind to another, and you receive the signal. Television is visual thoughts from one mind to another. So they're actually simulating an artificial reality through the TV and telling you to envision that, and we are manifesting that destruction in our lives. The microchip that they plant in your mind, on your pineal gland, they do the same thing. They have a machine in Europe and in America as well, where they emit thoughts and emit signals to the minds of the now cloned person, or the person under MK Ultra program. And this person, you only can act on what they think. Like I broke down in one of my other videos, family. You can't experience something if you can't think it. If somebody never told you that you can do a backflip and you never seen nobody do a backflip, you would never conceive the thought that it was possible, so you would never try to do it. So you would live your entire life never experiencing a backflip because you never conceived the thought. So the point I'm trying to make is you act on your thoughts. You only can experience or do what it is you think. So what happens is they take the clone and they emit thoughts to the clone, and the clone begins to act on these thoughts. So if they tell the clone, I hate this person, then the clone becomes angry. And then they tell the clone, they emit a thought to the clone, I'm going to kill this person. Then now the clone is going to act on that thought. So what they do is they send the clones on dummy missions to kill people in the public and all kinds of things, or a lot of celebrities is clones still to this very day at this second, and they control them like puppets. And this is what cloning in the MK Ultra program is all about. So we have to understand that cloning is very real. And they got a mosquito now. See, they got biological robots. And what a biological robot is, when we think of a robot, we think of something that's basically metallic and wired. But biological robots is basically something that's borderline humanoid, but it has no soul, and it has an artificial intelligence. So Siri would be a robot on the phone. But if they gave Siri flesh and made her biological, she would be a biological entity. So any type of biological robot is called an EBE, an extra biological entity, or a BE, a biological entity. So why is this important? Because they're creating biological entities with technology. They have a biological entity that looks like a mosquito, and what it does is it comes and lands on you and it bites you and it extracts your blood, and they take your blood back to the cloning facility and they clone your ass, and you never even knew. You wouldn't even know you was a clone. You don't even know if they got a clone of you. So they'll clone you and then have your clone go kill up a mall and then put a warrant out for your arrest, and the whole world be thinking you did that shit and you have no clue. Just like them people when they flew 9/11 into the airplane, and they said they put that man picture, they put one of the terrorist pictures on the news saying he flew the plane into the thing, and he was on the news the next day. I mean, he made a video the next day, put on the internet saying, I didn't fly no plane into a building, I'm right at home. So we can't believe everything the media tells us, because the media is owned by the fucking Illuminati who's cloning people. So to get back on point, this is why we got to stop donating our blood, family. When you go to the doctor and they be talking about, oh, your kid need a physical, give us some blood, or these motherfuckers always eager to just take our blood and take our shit. Hell no, because they doing shit with it they ain't got no business doing. These motherfuckers is not being right. They not being righteous with us. They taking our blood. They cloning us. They learning how to make shit to survive under the sun. They doing all kind of sick and twisted shit, family. So we got to leave this system alone. But I don't want to keep this video too long. But that's just a minor understanding of cloning and how it works. That is how they clone people. That is how they mind control people. Like I always say, family, do the research, look this up, educate yourself, and understand that we are in a world that is artificially controlled by the Caucasian, who is a devious ass puppet himself. So they're cloning people, and they're allowing demonic spirits to manifest in people as well as reptilians. So you have to understand that this, what you think is reality is actually a lie, and what you think is a lie is actually reality. And with that being said, family, open the pineal gland, use your third eye vision, and let's get our planet back in a righteous manner, and let's get back on top as the gods and goddesses so that we can destroy all wickedness on our planet Earth. And with that being said, peace.